everyone, it's Nichol Spohr here for Simon Says Stamp, and this is the January 2020 edition of Making the Cut. Making the Cut features all things die cutting, and today I thought it would be super fun to share these new foil and cut sets from the Simon Says Stamp to the Moon release. We are going to foil the beautiful floral images, then we are going to die cut them, color them, and create some really fun love-themed cards in a non-traditional color scheme. I am going to be foiling the sketched garden flowers first. I'm using the Spellbinders Glimmer hot foil machine and some gold foil. We're going to foil the images as is first. Now there is a fantastic product from Pink Fresh Studio called the Solid Hot Foil Plate. This plate allows you to make use of all of that excess foil from foiling these images. And I'm going to show you what I mean here in a second. Let me get my Spellbinders die cutting machine set up right next to my Glimmer hot foil system so that I can run this through as soon as that light is solid. We again are foiling the sketched garden flowers first. I'm going to pull this out. I always like to put the docking back in, or put the platform, back into the docking station. And I'm going to peel away that foil. So pretty. Now look at all this excess foil that's left over. I am going to grab that hot foil plate and we're going to then switch that out and place this down on our Glimmer hot foil system. We're going to take the foil and lay that shiny side down. We're actually foiling the dull silverish looking side. That is always the side that that the foil comes off of. And then I'm going to take a piece of paper, create my sandwich again, and wait for this to heat up. I do want to mention that I'm foiling all of these images on the Hammer Mill cardstock. If you want really good results, I highly recommend this cardstock. I've used many different cardstocks for foiling in the past. This one was recommended to me, and I will tell you that I do find it far superior as was recommended. It foils beautifully. So you can see there that I got a solid sheet there of foiled florals. Let's go ahead and move on to the Sketched Rose Trio. These three sets are all part of the To the Moon release. I want to mention that there are a couple other sets from Simon Says Stamp. I have used them in the past. I absolutely love them, and they would work with these as well. Again, I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine. We'll grab the platform and put it back in the docking station so it's heating up. I like to do this very assembly line style, so you'll notice we're going to be doing all of our foiling first. Then we will do our coloring and finally assembly. Let's go ahead and take that solid or almost solid sheet of foil, and we're going to foil that with the Pink Fresh Studio solid hot foil plate. And we're going to end up with a little sheet of leaves and flowers. I think this is my favorite as far as the solid goes. I love the little size of these flowers and then the leaves. I think I even used all of them. So I'm just trying to grab a corner and peeling it away, and see how all the foil has transferred to the cardstock then? So amazing, you guys. I just love that there is no waste, and you're going to see that I'm going to combine the solid gold foiled images with the foiled outline and colored images for some really beautiful cards. Next, we are going to foil the Sketched Rose Blossom and Leaves. I think this is my very favorite set from the release, although it's very hard to pick. I especially love the leaves in this set. I think they really work with a lot of sets beautifully. Now, I found it worked best to do this at a diagonal. That's just how it's going to fit the best. I was a little bit nervous as far as making sure that they're all going to die cut appropriately. You will notice there's a little bit of waste as far as cardstock with the foiling. I often find it's better to make sure that my images are in the center of the cardstock so that I don't have to redo the foiling. I can always use those edges for stamping sentiment strips or small little images for another project. So I do save the little scraps, but I did want to make mention that there is a little bit of excess here, or at least how I do it. There tends to be a little excess cardstock. I did foil the Sketched Rose Blossom and Leaves twice. As I mentioned, it's my favorite from this set as far as the leaves, and I wanted to make sure I had plenty of leaves because I am doing 2 cards today. We won't be using all of the floral images, but we will be using quite a few. Starting with my BV29 marker, I am going to color in this pretty flower. Now I am doing kind of a lavender type of color combination with a sage green leaf. I love this color combination. I think it really transitions nicely. I think it works nice for kind of that muted wintry type of card, but also transitions nicely into a spring design. This is becoming one of my very favorite color combinations, and if you guys have followed me at my own channel at all, you might have heard me talk about in the past that purples are not my favorite or weren't my favorite. I don't know about you guys, but I have been using purple so much lately. I think that I cannot say any longer that I'm not a purple fan because I have used purple a lot and I absolutely love it. So I blended out with BV31 after that BV29 dark color. And then I'm going in with my mid-tone, which is BV34. You're going to notice consistency throughout the coloring in my video today. No matter which set it is, all of the flowers are going to be colored with this color combination. I wanted to keep it very similar. Same goes for any of the leaves. They're all going to be the same color combination. For ease of reference and to find the marker colors easily, if you don't have these already, I have linked to the individual markers for your convenience in the description box here on the Simon Says Stamp YouTube channel, as well as listing them out in the description box. So hopefully that makes it easy if you want to reference those color combinations later on. Look how pretty. I almost feel like this looks like a little bit like a pansy colored this way. And I think I should remember this color combination for pansies because I think it's pretty. I try not to get too caught up in, is this an actual color that this flower would be or anything like that. I generally go with my gut. Do I like this color combination? Then I'm going to go with that. I worked really hard to look through my stash for the perfect Simon Says Stamp ink for stenciling my background and all of that stuff that would complement the marker colors I picked here today. I also want to mention, while I foiled my images with gold foil, you could choose any of the foil colors. Maybe you want to foil it in black and have more of that traditional outline type of look. You could do that. It will still have foil. You could do silver. You could do any color you want. I think there's, I'm trying to think if there is a purple. I know there's kind of a magenta color. There's reds, greens, blues. All of these would be beautiful. Imagine blues, even like the more aquas and things. I think there's like a moon dust that I really, really like. That would be pretty for kind of an aqua color combination. Or the blue, if you wanted to do some royal blue flowers, how pretty would that be? Change up your foil, try some different foils, see what you like. But what I want to note here is that the foiling resists the alcohol ink. So that is how you're able to color in these images and not ruin the foiling. I absolutely love coloring in a foiled image with some alcohol ink markers like Copics because I think it gives you really elegant, beautiful results. You could also leave these florals as is and not color them at all. You could ink over them with some distress inks. I think that would be really pretty. So the sky is the limit. Don't feel like you have to color these in with markers or colored pencils or anything like that, you could totally use some ink blending brushes and your favorite inks and add color to them that way. The foiling will still resist it. I think if I would use Distress inks, I would definitely make sure and take a dry cloth and buff away any excess ink that sits on top of that foiling before you either run it through the die cutting machine or attach it to your project. Look how pretty that green is. Again, this is BG90, 93, and 96 that I'm using for the green. I'm going to go ahead and do that again here. Remember, these sketched rose blossom and leaves are my favorite leaves. I would use these with any of the florals from the foil and cut collection here at Simon Says Stamp because I just think they're so pretty. And I really like the groupings of 3 leaves together. It gives you a lot of leaves, kind of a lot of bang for your buck if you want to add a lot of greenery, which I tend to really love adding a lot of greenery to my floral designs. I think it just kind of gives them a little something extra and fills in that space beautifully. So just using my markers again, and something I do want to note too about the coloring, I made sure to not over blend my colors. I'm leaving a lot of the texture in the leaves and in the flowers. I think it gives a little bit more interest to the finished design. When I foiled the sketched garden flowers, I did have a bit of over foiling, and I'm going to show you how to clean that up easily. Most of it isn't going to make a big difference, but there was especially one little area that I noticed that I needed to fix that. So I'm going to take a sand eraser here and just remove a little of that foiling. As soon as I get to that sheet, I need to finish coloring in this rose first. This rose does take a little bit more effort. It's quite a bit bigger, but gosh, it's so pretty when you have it all colored. And because I did this twice, I'm not going to color both of these sets on camera to save some time today, but both will be colored the same because I think I do end up using every single image from this between the 2 cards. So I'm very messily adding BV31 to my flower just to kind of blend out over top of BV29, and then I'm adding in all of that great detailing and shading with BV34 over the top. And just blending out those dark areas, leaving the light just kind of on the very tips of the petals. And going back into the center of the flower with BV29 as needed. So pretty. I love it. Okay, so here's that overfoiling I was talking about. And I'm just going to take the eraser and very gently erase that away. You don't want to rub the eraser over the foiling as it will dull it. But you can lightly go where there's the overfoiling and remove it very easily. These flowers, these garden flowers, look really pretty with this color combination as well. Just a different shape in flower petal, of course, and I love it. I am not going to color in the other images from this set. I'll be honest, I'm not exactly sure. They're not my favorite. And so I don't think I'm going to use them, so I didn't bother to color them in. I can always save them for another project. I generally just tuck them into the storage pocket with my hot foil plate and die, and that way when I pull this set out again, if I am needing an image from that or extras or whatever it might be, I can always just grab them and add them to my next project. We're going to take the coordinating dies for the Sketched Garden Flowers, Sketched Rose Trio, and Sketched Rose Blossom and Leaves, and we are going to die cut all of these now so that we have everything ready to go. And then from there we can kind of play around with the different images and build some really beautiful floral arrangements for our cards. So I'm going to grab my Spellbinders Platinum again, and we're simply going to die cut these. I started to run this through and it had shifted slightly, so I did roll it back and just kind of make sure it was lined up. But look how beautiful those flowers are. And of course, while I have the die out, let's go ahead and do the solid. One of my solid images from this sketched rose blossom and leaves didn't foil quite as well as the other, so there's a couple of unusable pieces, but that is okay. And there are the small flowers, which are my favorite for fillers. I think you always need some nice little images for fillers. Same goes for the solid gold. These are going to be amazing for filling in our floral arrangements. I'm just tucking things back into the storage pockets as I go. I like to kind of clean as I go for the most part. And here are our final flowers, the sketched garden flowers and the solids. Now that we have all of our florals, it's time to stencil some backgrounds. So also in the To the Moon release is a new polka dot and heart stencil, meaning that both images are in this stencil set. And there's 2 different stencils included in this set. Hearts going horizontally and polka dots going horizontally, and then going vertically. We're using the vertical stencil, and I am using Velvet Orchid Simon Says stamp ink, which perfectly matches the Copic markers I picked to stencil this background. You can see that you have to move the stencil a little bit to build an entire background, but it works really great. And I also try to concentrate the darker part of the ink up towards the top of the panel and lighten it for an ombre effect as we go down the panel. I'm going to do this on 2 sheets of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch pieces of Nina 110-pound weight smooth white cardstock so that we have some nice, subtle, beautiful backgrounds. Then I'm going to take greetings from the So Much Love stamp set, and we're going to stamp those on some Nina cardstock using the Velvet Orchid ink. I'm using Sending So Much and On Your Birthday for one of the cards, and then we will also be using the Your Kind Heart for the other card. In addition, we're going to stamp both the Script Love and the other large love greeting from So Much Love on some smooth white, the same sheet of smooth white cardstock, as a matter of fact, with clear embossing ink. I'm using the Hero Arts Embossing and Watermark ink, and we'll heat emboss with some Simon Says Stamp gold embossing powder. The gold is going to tie in, of course, to the gold foiling that we're including in our design, and that's going to make the word love really pop. I was very conscious of the color choices I used for the sentiments. I want them to complement the design and not stand out super dark. So you'll notice that the sentiment strips are going to be that Velvet Orchid color that ties into the flowers and into the background. But they're on sentiment strips popped up, so they still show up, but they just complement the rest of the design beautifully. I absolutely love this Scripty Love greeting. I could see using this on so many things. And I think it's amazing that this So Much Love stamp set works for so many occasions. So you'll see I'm creating a birthday card and then a Love Your Kind Heart, which is more of probably a thank you type greeting. There's also, you could do Love You to the Moon and Back, which that is amazing. Can you imagine using the Tim Holtz Moon stencils with that sentiment? Wouldn't that be awesome? Love You So Much, Love and Prayers, May Your Day Be Filled with Love, Love on Your Special Day, Hey There Love, With All My Love, Love You and Miss You, Love on Valentine's Day, Love You to Pieces, Sending You So Much Love, and Hugs. I mean, you could really mix and match. That's just a sampling of what you could do with this stamp set. So I highly, highly recommend this sentiment stamp set because I think it works for like Valentine's love themed cards and beyond. Then, of course, I'm taking my favorite sentiment labels dies here from Simon Says Stamp, and we are die cutting our smaller phrases into sentiment strips that we can then add to our project. Let's go ahead and put together the first card. I am going to pop up the large part of the sentiment as well as the sentiment strips. I want the sentiment to be a focal point. Yes, I wanted it to coordinate and complement the rest of the design, but I also want it to pop up and be a prominent feature. So we're going to piece together some foam adhesive squares as well as some thin foam adhesive strips and place this in the upper half, or kind of the upper third of the background of our card. You can see that I laid out a lot of the florals and leaves and things already, kind of trying to gauge where I thought everything was going to fit and work on this card design. There is the love. I'm going to go ahead and put one foam adhesive square in the center of my large flower. I only did the one because this allows me to very easily tuck my greenery, extra flowers, and all of that kind of stuff underneath. So we're just going to build this floral arrangement down here in the bottom left corner. It kind of extends all the way across to the right. And then in the opposite corner from the large flower, we will be putting a smaller floral up high. I've mixed in some of the solid gold foil pieces as well as the foiled, colored, and die cut pieces, and I think the mix is super pretty. Where I originally placed this sentiment strip, I do end up moving it a little bit, and we're going to end up centering it a little bit because I didn't like how Sending So Much and On Your Birthday lined up one above the other. You'll see that here when I get that added. So I am going to very, very carefully lift that up. In fact, I used undo so I wouldn't tear my card, but I'm going to lift it up and I'm going to center On Your Birthday a little bit more, and I think that the finished result looks nice. I wanted to show that on here so you could really see my thought process as far as how I fixed something that I wasn't happy with on my card. Oh my goodness, I just love these greens and purples together. So pretty. And here is the rest of my sentiment strip, which really does have to be shifted over here to the right because of that large loop in the letter L. And I don't love how they seem stacked up, and I don't love it. So I'm going to just move it. And then where I move it, I don't love it. So I actually move it again because I, at first, layered it over part of the L, but I think it's covering up too much of the L and it makes it a little hard to read. But let's go ahead and add some gemstones and then I'll fix it here in a second. So we are adding some pretty pink posh pansy purple jewels. This is the perfect purple color to add to this. I also think some clear gems and jewels would be fun. There's all kinds of different gems and jewels you can pick to use. I just picked something I had on hand. I like adding a little extra sparkle. Some of the gems are going to be on top of the leaves. Some will be, on the background of the card, but we're just going to scatter several of them throughout this design. I'm adding little dabs of glue with the Ranger Multi-Matte Medium. I have the fine tip applicator on my glue bottle, and then I'm using an embellishment wand to easily pick up these gems and pop them in place where they go. And I'll even add a couple to the center of some of the flowers. I don't think I'll add them to all of the flowers, but a couple of them, it looks kind of cute. Now there are some leaves and things hanging off the edge of the panel. Once my liquid glue is all the way dry, I'll flip the panel over, trim off anything hanging off the edge, and then go ahead and adhere this entire thing to a white top fold card base. If you haven't checked out the pre-made card bases here at Simon Says Stamp, I highly recommend them. I always have some in my stash. They make creating cards so quick and easy since I don't have to stop, trim, or score the cards. All of that work is done for you. So here I'm deciding I don't love where On Your Birthday is. I am going to pop that up and off, and I fixed it off camera. Here's that pre-made card base I was talking about. We'll put some nice strong adhesive on the front of our card base. Go ahead and glue our panel right there on top, and look at that. Just like that, we have a beautiful floral birthday card. If you switch out some of the sentiments, this could work for lots of different occasions. So for my second card, I actually used the Other Love from the So Much Love stamp set. I wanted to just show the two different options that you get in this stamp set. This font is gorgeous as well. I think it is a win-win with this particular sentiment set. This time I'm going to put a small grouping in the upper left corner of my card with just one group of leaves and one flower. I was running out of some of the smaller images. I used so many on the other card, but I think that this card works just as well. Now that one gold foiled leaf, you can see it has a little light area in it where the foil didn't transfer great. I think that's going to be a great spot to add a gemstone to hide the fact that there's a little imperfection in the foiling. I'm always looking for ways to hide those kind of things and still be able to use die cuts or foiled pieces. Lots of greenery here down in this grouping, as well as gold foiled leaves. Plus I ended up popping up all of the flowers in this grouping, as well as the floral up high. Again, we're just going to go through the whole card background, add gemstones to some of the flower centers. A lot of tone on tone going on here. I'm a big fan of tone on tone. And we'll just scatter some of these gems throughout the background. And our cards are all finished. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this set of 2 foil and cut cards featuring stamps and dies from the Simon Says Stamps, Dies, and Foil Plates from the Simon Says Stamp to the Moon release. The supplies I used to create my cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube for your convenience. Thank you guys so much for joining me for the January edition of Making the Cut, and we will see you next time.